When it comes to the early picks of the 2023 AFL draft, we really kind of know what's going on at the top end. We know Harley Reid is going to go pick one, and we're 90 to 95% sure, I'm a firm believer in the 99% personally, that West Coast are going to hold that pick and draft Harley Reid. It's what I think they should do, but I've done plenty of videos about that. We know North are going to pick second. We know there's going to be a bid for Jed Walter in there somewhere. We also know North Melbourne have got at least one pick in there, potentially two, dependent on what band of compensation North Melbourne get for the Essendon acquisition of Ben Mackay. But what we don't know, the first point of speculation, I believe true speculation in this draft, is circulating around Gold Coast's pick 4, which of course could be 5 or even 6, depending on what happens with Walter and the aforementioned North Melbourne Band 1 compensation. And the reason for that, for those that don't know, is Gold Coast will be matching a bid for centre-half forward Jed Walter. And what that means is, when that bid comes through, the next pick for Gold Coast would automatically be absorbed. So they don't need to hang on to that pick 4 at all. If they can get a really good trade for that pick, get a net positive in draft points, it means that that pick won't go to waste. And this is an advantage for Gold Coast in two ways. One, like we said, the aforementioned net point gain that they can get. And two, as a part of that trade, they might also be able to get themselves a 2024 draft asset as well, on top of bidding on Jed Walter, Ethan Reid, and Jake Rogers in this draft. If they can sacrifice that pick 4 in order to pay effectively for these players, getting another draft asset is going to be beneficial for Damien Hardwick and his team moving forward. Now, in terms of who gets that pick is kind of up for debate. Gold Coast have got to move the pick. There are plenty of clubs that want the pick. Who can get the pick and all these kind of things is kind of what this video is about. It is a true draft enigma right about now, so let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about this pick 4 and why it's a little bit of a pain. I know I say this a lot, guys, when I say like the video, subscribe, and still please do those things, but I just want to say a massive thank you. The last sort of month or so, the views, the engagement, the percentage that you guys are watching the videos are continually going up and up and up, and I'm overwhelmingly grateful for that. So, yes, we've still got the goal of 2K before draft day and all those things, but it's been a massive response, and I want to say a massive thank you for that. Yeah, this pick's going to be interesting in a big way, and the reason for it is I can't really see what the clubs that want that pick want to do with it. Not all of them. Let me explain. So, the two clubs that are in the thumbnail before we get to the question mark, the Bulldogs and North. Let's start with North. Now, North will want that pick to ensure that either one of pick 2, pick 3, pick 4 is Riley Sanders, the kid that's in their next generation academy, and a kid that they are really big on. Now, wanting Riley Sanders as the Lark medalist, who's also a midfielder, means that they will not be drafting Colby McKercher. It doesn't look like. Now, I personally believe that they will draft Daniel Curtin and one of Zane Dersma or Nick Watson, which means that if they do get their pick there, which will come after Hawthorn, then the draft order effectively would go Harley Reid, Jed Walter, matching that bid. Okay, you've got Daniel Curtin and either Zane Dersma or Nick Watson, and I truly believe that Hawthorn will draft whichever one that North don't take. If you go by pure needs, then they'd probably go Curtin and Watson, and Hawthorn would take Zane Dersma. Or if they go best talent available, they would probably go Curtin Dersma. And because Hawthorn really do need an electric small forward, Nick Watson isn't a consolation prize, but he is the guy that they would pick. It would then go back to North Melbourne, and they would pick up Riley Sanders. Coming out of this top 10 with those three kids, whichever combination they go with, would be awesome for North. And given the draft concessions that they've been able to get, as well as further draft concessions for next year, this is kind of the point in my intro, is that if they offered their two late first round picks, which will be Port Adelaide's first round pick, pick 19, and one of their concession picks for the next year, Gold Coast are going to be in a really good spot, and they're going to get another asset. Now, there could be more that's included in that. Like I say, Gold Coast are basically offering this pick to the highest bidder. So if you're going to comment below as a North Melbourne fan and go, I wouldn't offer this much, I understand that, and they might not. But if you want the pick, you're not going to Gold Coast with what you think the best offer is. You need to beat every other club's offer. So just keep that in mind, okay? And that's where Gold Coast are going to benefit here. And that's where North would benefit as well. Like, you ask anyone from North Melbourne, and would you be uncomfortable with taking Curtin, Watson, or Dersma and Riley Sanders? And the answer would be, yes, please, would do that every day of the week. And I can't say that I blame them. The Bulldogs are an interesting case, because even if Jordan Croft does want to become a Bulldog, and we still don't know, he hasn't committed to the Bulldogs yet to be a father-son pick, and a club like Essendon is really hoping he doesn't do that. Bulldogs can still trade their 2 first-round picks for pick 4, and potentially, again, more the bidding system, we know all that. They can still do that, and I believe that they should offer that. I really do. Having another top 5 prospect in the open draft is only going to be a good thing for the Doggies. Here's the problem. What happens if Dersma and Watson are off the board? So again, same draft order. What if the Bulldogs have got pick 4, right? And the draft order goes Reed, Walter, Curtin, Dersma, Watson. What do the Bulldogs do there? Now, they're going to be hoping that the Band 1 compensation doesn't kick in, where, of course, if North Melbourne pick Daniel Curtin, and in my opinion, they absolutely should, the Bulldogs will probably end up with Nick Watson in that case. And that would be because, in my opinion, between Dersma and Watson, Hawthorn are going to take Zane Dersma. I'm reasonably confident of that now. So, the Bulldogs might be actually waiting to see if Band 1 compensation is given to North Melbourne before they make this trade. Because let's say that the Bulldogs have got this pick and North have got Band 1 compensation. Who are they drafting? Colby McKercher might be the best kid in this draft. But the Bulldogs don't need a midfielder. They're apparently keeping Bailey Smith. So if they're not drafting him, who is it? They don't need a tall. They don't need Connor O'Sullivan, or they're not going to reach on an Ollie Murphy. And do you do all that trading up to take a Darcy Wilson? I don't know. It seems a little, not strange, but I think the Bulldogs might need to sit and wait here. There's no natural fit for them. Are you trading up for Nate Caddy? Who, again, you've got a lot of forwards, but he does bring something a little bit different. It's a bold call, deciding that he won't be there at the pick. We know, and I know as much as anyone who's mocked him to Melbourne, is Nate Caddy to the D's does make a lot of sense in terms of their draft needs, especially considering they're going to get Shane McAdam in this trade period, so they're not really going to go tall, as in a Connor O'Sullivan, Ollie Murphy kind of player. And even though James Jordan is leaving, clearly they don't need that kind of outside player, so a Darcy Wilson kind of player isn't really on offer for them. So is it to get ahead of the Demons and take Nate Caddy? If so, I mean, that makes more sense, but if it's not, maybe they're just waiting. Maybe they really are. So North, the plan is simple. For the Bulldogs, the plan might rest on a coin flip. Are there guys that the Bulldogs might take ahead of Nate Caddy at their current draft position? I would argue no. If he got to the Bulldogs' first spot, kind of like Jed Buslinger last year, I think they would leap to the podium and call out his name. But what about these other clubs that are in the market for this pick 4? Adelaide and Hawthorn kind of stand out. Now, the Crows especially, I think they need to trade up for this pick and take Colby McKercher. That just makes all the sense in the world for me. How they do that is probably a Marby or Chol salary dump, maybe. But I still don't understand why Gold Coast would want a salary dump kind of situation. The pick 4 is going to be absorbed. You need the best draft capital. Now, Adelaide do have 2 picks in the 20s, but it's going to need to be that plus future assets. That is a definite. Whether you think North or the Bulldogs need to do it is irrelevant. Adelaide do need to do it. Are you offering their 2 picks in the 20s and next year's first rounder for pick 4 on its own? Do you do pick 4 in Marby or Chol there? It'd be brave. God, I'd love it. And Colby McKercher to the Crows gets me excited, and I'm not a Crows fan. For the Hawks, they might want the pick 4 with a Marby or Chol salary dump. But again, for the Hawks, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We've barely got enough draft points for Will McCabe. We definitely don't have enough for, I don't think, to get pick 4. But if there is a salary dump style situation, I'd still put us in the unlikely category. I think the same thing with Richmond. I know there's been some reports, but, it doesn't really make sense there. There are some contenders, Carlton, Collingwood, but they don't really have the assets there. But Adelaide, Bulldogs, North Melbourne certainly make the most sense to me. I think if I'd like to pick a smoky, I'd really love West Coast to try and get involved here. I'd really like Sydney to try to get involved here. Now, the problem that the Swans have got is they've got enough trade targets that are heading up there. Now, James Jordan's not going to cost them a pick, and Brodie Grundy's going to cost them like a pick in the 20s, 30s maybe. So it's not going to be that big of a deal for the Swans there, but I think they could get involved as well in a big way. And I wouldn't underestimate the Giants here either. I think they might be a massive chance to get pick 4. Now, again, what would they want with that pick would be largely hard to know, considering they've already got a pick in the top 10s. But all of these clubs chasing this pick for mine is a much more interesting draft story than any others in this top 5, because I'm sick of the West Coast rhetoric with pick 1. But what do you guys think? Comment below, let me know. Who do you think gets pick 4? Who do they use it on? And why? I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope you enjoyed grand final weekend. Don't go anywhere, guys, because there is plenty of off-season content coming very soon. So subscribe, join the Daz Talks Footy family, like the video if you like the video, share with a footy-loving mate, and I will see you next time.